Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. It's been a while, so we are flashing back a little bit to Naya Maverick tonight. So obviously here, we have a pretty light splash in Mawloc in the main deck alongside a Minsc and Boo. And then in the sideboard, I think the big benefit of red right now is obviously the blast effects and Pyroblast, red Elemental Blast, and then also another copy of Minsc and Boo. And then just a Fiery Justice. I really wanted a way to be able to clean the board up against decks that go wide, like the Pride decks, potentially Painter. I'm not too sure what we're going to play against. I haven't played Legacy in a little while. So I'm very keen to, use today to kind of get a little feel of the format right now. So I kept things to have a little bit of an answer for everything. Obviously here we have some main decks sheltered by ghosts, which I have been pretty impressed with playing with them. Thalia, potentially a little bit old school, but I do really like Thalia in the builds with Scythecat Cub. It's a way to get above Orcish Bowmaster, potentially get above and 2 damage on Holy Heat or even a 3 damage Bolt. So need to see how these tee up. And then some, kind of fun-ofs. We have Keen-Eyed Curator, obviously a pretty big mainstay these days in Mav, alongside Frenzied Baloth. I still think this sort of effect is quite good if we do run into any ring decks. Obviously, just Trample and Haste is great against any Planeswalkers on board, especially with Exalted. Mawloc, I think, is potentially just a little bit off meta, but we'll see how Mawloc goes. I think just having it as a Green Sun's target is really strong. And of course, this deck isn't running Punishing Fire. I did try to build a build with Punishing Fire and Grove, but it was just a little bit too tricky. And I feel like potentially there's just not enough X1s and X2s in the format to really build around Punishing Fire. Renegade, obviously really cool as well. Baron, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. It is good to be back. Like Night of Autumn, I think just the value against show and tell decks where we can hopefully take out an Omniscience or a Sneak is obviously great. I was thinking of like Aethersworn Canonist in the 75 as just another way to fight against Sneak. We do have Deafening Silence, which doesn't stop they show and tell into creature. But I think Deafening Silence and Pyroblast really nice together because, of course, if your opponent puts a blue spell on the stack and we have a Pyroblast, it can't be countered. So it's really nice to see. Dryad Militant is one I have in the sideboard, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of a ploy against Ouphe, obviously, if you're on the play. And just, it does have some play against decks like lands where Loam and potentially some other cards are going to the bin, but obviously Loam is a big one. Quite niche. Obviously, still a 2-1 for 1, which isn't too bad, but pretty keen just to see how Dryad goes. And then Doorkeeper Thrall. There's a lot of decks in the format right now which get a lot of value of the creatures they play, especially Death and Taxes. So I think having some sort of play against the Recruiter, Stoneforge Mystic, Solitude style decks is quite nice. A bunch of 3-ofs like Thalia, Cub, Endurance Knight. We do run the onces, so I kind of see once as like the 4th copy of those. You also have the Renegade Rallier to get them back, so I typically like a 3-night, 1 Icetill or Ramanap split. I'm pretty keen just to make sure that I sequence well tonight. I think there's 2 things that I can control in Magic. One is assessing the board in front of me. That's an easy one that you can always continue to grow on. And then the other is definitely sequencing and just taking time. Take time within reason to come up with the best play. So I think that's what tonight's goal is. So we'll see how that goes. Emar 10, I hope you're doing well. It is very nice to be back. We are playing Naya Mav 26. We're playing in a Legacy League. It's been a little while, so I'm still like getting used to this gameplay. Cool. Okay. But yeah, I think Mav's in a pretty tough spot. I think that, you know, as the years go on, obviously it's further and further away from the golden years of, say, 2020, 2013. There's one SCG that stands out to me. I believe it was, I'm going to say East Coast. We come to the history. It was definitely a year. Baltimore. Yeah, insane. Look at this top 8. Like 6 decks on Mav. Ooh, okay, cool. Yeah, if we quickly look down here. So Mav, Sneak, Mav, Spiral Tide, Mav. Like what a time to be alive. Right, we have our opening hand. Okay, mana is on point. That's a good one. We have some interaction in Wastelands, some interaction in Sheltered. Talon kind of makes this a 6. I think for what we're trying to do, and that's most likely accelerate turn 1 on mana, and then turn 2 drop some sort of hate bear that most likely has a bit of an impact. This hand's just a little bit too mana heavy for me. I think it's nice we get, you know, we still have a plan. Turn 1 Hierarch, turn 2 potentially shelter a threat or wasteland them. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait to be able to use this for the Surveil land. But I think I wouldn't mind us going down to 6 here. A little bit of a same hand. A bit more interaction in that we have swords and also wasteland. Karakas to some extent. The Minsc is nice because we do actually just have 4 mana to work with. But currently we can't cast it, so we will want another land off the top. Or potentially something like an Ignoble Hierarch to give us that red. I think we're happy to keep this and not go to 5. Bottom the Dryad because we can fetch it through other means. But kind of hope this is maybe Delver, I wouldn't mind. Like turn 1 removal or turn 1 wasteland into removal. But obviously want a creature matchup and hopefully one that also has, say, volcanics. Okay. Let's see. Well, I think our play here is just Wasteland Pass. Once off the top, we could potentially look if we want to accelerate. Otherwise, we do have Windswept Heath into Lush Portico. I think this is just something that I like to do, especially on MTGO, is just think about your turn on your opponent's turn. Take the Minsc, okay. So that's kind of telling in a way. It makes me think they do have kind of a long game ahead of them. Or at least they think they do. Because if they were, say, Doomsday, I don't think they would care about the Minsc and Boo. They're probably going to be more of a blue-black tempo deck. Which, to be fair, once seeing the Underground Sea, Minsc is most likely a 5-drop. Just like, to the stage you get to cast it, you might as well play around Days. Okay. I think here we're happy just to hold up swords, but also fetch for Lush Portico. Probably don't want another land. The Lush gives us the second green for endurance. With Minsc in the bin, Mawloc is the only red card we care about. Putting a force to the bottom, to the bin, I should say. Definitely like a lot of little things that have come out of this game so far. Nothing so far. Interesting. Second main brainstorm. I would assume blue-black's still in a decent spot. Obviously, blue-black over the years has had some pretty big bannings. But the core of the deck, and essentially the core of any blue deck, is still very strong. Force Days, Ponder, Brainstorm, you know, that's seeing cards. So what? 34? 44. 44 are left to kind of play around with. Or Pluto Delta, 40 to play around with. Very interesting. Maybe just another Thoughtseize. No, a personal tutor. It is going to be Doomsday, potentially. See, that's really interesting that they took the Minsc and Boo, because we weren't really in a situation... Maybe they felt like they weren't going to potentially beat like turn 3 Knight as like a 5/5, and then they Doomsday, and then we attack them and then throw it. Maybe that was their thought. So I guess here we kind of want to find either a green card, or potentially something like a Thalia or Collector Ouphe. That can go in the bin. And a great kind of showing of why Lush Portico is just so strong. Obviously, Plateau there is just a terrible draw, so having some control over it is pretty sweet, and I think that's pretty good. So, I'm gonna play the Karakas and pass. And that way we have Endurance, Green Suns, Swords open, which is most likely not relevant. And just to confirm, they did reveal Doomsday. We don't know about the Endurance, which is good for us. It's not even a Ritual Doomsday. It's just a classic. Mana Doomsday. We do have Doorkeeper Thrall in the board for this matchup as well, which is kind of cool. If you can shuffle the pile, they might be left in a position where they can't get all the way through the pile and Sword is relevant. Yeah, very true. Or they might even leave, say, 2 in the deck and then play the Oracle, which at that point you can Swords the Oracle. They no longer have 2 Devotion, and therefore it does nothing. 2 or 1? Yeah. But yeah, very doubtful, but obviously an out to definitely be aware of. Yeah, especially, I guess, knowing about the sword. That's a great point. On MTGO, I try to sometimes break up the cards that I know my opponent knows about and the ones that they don't. Because I believe they've only Thoughtseized once, and they saw, yeah, the sword and the Minsc. I will be interested to see if this is, say, full combo, or if they're more the tempo version with creatures. Very cool deck. Very cool legacy deck. I remember a player, Isaac, used to play it locally back in the day when it played Sensei's Divining Top and Lab Maniac. Get the pile, but it was a pretty cool deck. All right. So it looks like it's full combo. We don't have any sort of creatures here. We only, I guess we do have Quantum Riddler. I take that back. There's 1 Oracle. Interesting. Let's just take a photo of this just in case that is relevant. Just want to quickly see how many Lotus Petals. 1 petal, 2 petal. And there's LED. Okay, so I don't think we're at the stage where we want to like Green Suns for Collector Ouphe. You think Personal Tutor means no tempo? Okay, that's really good to know. That is something that I wasn't too aware of. And hey, I hope you're doing well. Right, maybe Thalia would be kind of cool. Another Endurance. Interesting. Double Endurance might help. We're at 7. I mean, also like end step endurance and then Green Suns for Baloth is kind of cool. That puts him down to 1. So there's Edgewood draw. Mana. I'm just gonna get rid of this. Another edge cycled. Street Wraith. I wonder at this point if I want to do it before they draw this card, in case it's like blue card 4 Force potentially. I guess then I should pitch Endurance first. Because if they have days, they might exile it to the Force. They Force, pitch Ponder. Now we go for Endurance again. They have 1 card in hand. Wow, nice. Cool. I think very fortunate there with the draws, let's be honest. 2 Endurance off the top with the green card as well, so. Opponent played, you know, around the 1 Endurance and just didn't, unfortunately, play around the 2nd, which we were just lucky to get, so. All right, Doomsday. Obviously, we care about combo probably more than a removal, so potentially like Swords out. Riddler's kind of good for us because Pyroblast is quite efficient at like keeping the cantrips at bay. Obviously, Oracle itself, slowing them down. Deafening Silence obviously hits all of the effects like ritual effects, potentially even like pedal effects. We like the Doorkeeper Thralls. We like the Choke. Dryad can definitely stay out. I would say Icetill's nice. There are games where it comes down to like being able to double Wasteland in 1 turn. The Minsc is a bit slow. Sheltered is kind of meh. Ouphe does work. It does obviously play a role. Baloth, I think, can probably come out. It is kind of interesting that like creatures can't be countered. Quick think. I think Night of Autumn can come out. I think we can drop down on a night or 2. Rallier getting back things that have been forced, which is quite nice. I don't mind the onces, as they can dig, and a lot of the things we want to dig for, like Wasteland or potentially Bears, are quite cheap. I could see like going down to 1 sword. Still want ways to win the game, but maybe... Oh, the Mawloc, of course. The Mawloc's terrible. I think this is pretty decent. We still have some interaction in Pyroblast and Swords for threats. Obviously, Choke is pretty cool. Not so much on the draw, but on the play, I think it's still sweet. I think I'm pretty happy just seeing how this goes. Quick look. And Shelter's kind of nice because it also protects like a bear if you want to do that. Keen-Eyed probably isn't where I want to be. I think we could just go with a Sheltered. See how this plays out. I think against combo decks, I just want to be low to the ground. I want to have interaction, and I want to have disruption and pressure. So Thalia, pressure and disruption. Collector Ouphe, pressure and disruption. But obviously, a lot of these aren't stop signs. They're kind of speed bumps, so you need to have multiple. So the Deafening Silence by itself isn't that great, but Deafening Silence with Thalia or Pyroblast backup is obviously great. So can't really rest on one thing. Baloth and Thrall is kind of... Yeah, I guess like Baloth in play and then Thrall on the stack is cool. Okay, this is a pretty fast hand. However, green source is tapped. I would say for what we've brought in, say Deafening Silence, Pyroblast, obviously like a Thalia effect or a Wasteland is where we want to be. So I would say this is a mulligan. And against a combo deck like Doomsday, it's probably card or hand quality that I care about, not quantity of cards. Okay, much better. I mean, we have a great 1-2 punch in Deafening Silence and Thalia. Even if they... I'm trying to think about like Thoughtseize turn 1. They Thoughtseize take Deafening Silence or 1 Thalia. We do have Renegade Rallier to get either of them back. So if they take the Deafening Silence, we probably just want to Green Suns turn 1 to try to accelerate. So I think we drop a Thalia here. Because even if they Thoughtseize Thalia or Deafening Silence, turn 1 Dryad Arbor into turn 2 Fetch Rallier trigger could potentially bring those back. That is a great question. Do they play Deep Analysis? I don't believe so. I assume, say, like the Fluster's gone. I'm always interested in dropping Thalia based on our feedback. Always interested in sideboard changes for Doomsday. Sometimes I feel like Doomsday that just sticks to its guns in games 2 and 3 are really hard to beat. And then sometimes when they bring in creatures, it's a bit easier to handle. It also kind of makes me feel of like Ritual into Opposition Agent. I wouldn't mind just finding another land here that doesn't do anything. Wasteland's pretty sweet. Savannah into Deafening Silence. Wasteland at least allows me to play that Thalia next turn without having to fetch. Okay. Not too bad. And this is where I really like Rallier. Not just with creatures and lands, but also with hate that is a permanent. Just really increases the versatility of how good its Revolt trigger is. They replay the basic, obviously knowing about the Wasteland. I think here we're pretty happy just to run this Thalia out. Yeah, it's a great point. My consideration for the Dryad Militant was that it does turn off in a way. Endurance. That potentially Endurance would be less of an out. But it is just a one of. So that's a really cool call though. Shouting out Deep Analysis. It's like a flashback card. We still have Revolt next turn, which is kind of nice. And I think it's just going to be trying to go Rallier into Thalia. You can also get a copy of... I was going to say a red source. That's quite interesting. I might just go... Do I need to go to the forest? I don't think so. Taiga. White, 1, green, Rallier. If this resolves, I think the Thalia is better than the Deafening Silence. I feel because I've dazed twice that the Thalia is somewhat acting as a Deafening Silence in that she taxes them to only play maybe one spell a turn. Ooh, maybe digging for Force or blue card. swamp to the bin. Another Wraith. Force. Pitch Force. Okay. All right, so I think here I put a draw step stop on, so we can draw the card that we are going to draw this turn, of course. And now we have sort of full information about our turn, because if I want to wasteland this underground sea or undercity sewers, I probably want to do it here before they can have the mana for my main phase. And I think at 13, I could just go for a Baloth play, but I could also go for Collector Ouphe just to make sure they can't get black mana easily. And at least if they have something like, you know, Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent or something similar. Okay, that is fine. I think we just go for Ouphe because it does turn off, say, 5 cards that they haven't seen yet, being 4 LEDs. And also, so, 4 Lotus Petals. And 1 LED. And it is Disruption and Pressure, which is nice. Next turn attack for 3, we have control over what we draw the following turn. Press. 2 cards in hand, interesting. Just trying to snag something. Pyroblast would be kind of cool or something like that. Endurance is nice. We can Lush first. See what we're going to draw. Ooh, Icetill is pretty cool. I'm going to put that on top because the Wasteland, like the swamp's already in the bin. So let's... There's a world where I want to keep them off, say, Murktide region. I think I want to attack for 2, put them to 11. And then we pretty much have a 2-turn clock with Endurance. And Icetill. You know, a Murktide would be pretty tough to beat. Whereas, like, you know, if we put the Swamp back in the deck, sure, they now have access to Swamp, but, you know, them having another land of the 3 cards they have next turn isn't the worst. So I think we will... I think we'll just do it in there. I don't think there was anything special in the graveyard that I wasn't happy to give them. Okay. It does buy them some time. But if they don't play a land and we get back the Wasteland next turn thanks to the Icetill, we're in a pretty good spot. We'd have a 3-turn clock. Next turn attack for 3. I assume they don't block. They go to 8. And then the following turns we either get 2 through from the Collector Ouphe or 2 through from the Icetill. I also want to attack first and then play the Icetill second main so they don't have that information when they may be assuming blocks. We would also have access to Dryad Arbor potentially, which I don't believe changes things, but it's always nice to think about. Okay. here we just go straight to attack, so we attack with both. This means at least if they were going to throw the Thassa's Oracle away this turn, they would still take 2. Or they block here and take an extra 1. Right. I have 1 card in hand. And I think the play, if this resolves, is Wasteland the Underground Sea, and then an upkeep Wasteland the Polluted Delta. They don't even have it for, say, a Brainstorm. Okay. Pretty tough spot for them. 1 card in hand, obviously being down a land there with Wasteland. Really nice to win the first match, especially against Doomsday. Yeah, again, pretty fortunate with that opening. But hey, it won't be an 05, which is kind of nice. Always nice just to settle the nerves a little bit. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, there was definitely a consideration there for the Swamp being probably the most important card in the graveyard for them at that point. Hey Joe, very cool to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's well. Yeah, Doomsday can be tricky. I feel like they just had, in both games, the slower starts, which I think then we have time to obviously set up with a bear or two, some interaction. Yeah, typically a little bit tricky. I feel like I've had a few games against Doomsday where their play was turn 1 Ritual into Doomsday, and it's just been like double Polluted Delta, double Underground Sea, and Oracle. Because they know my clock is just not going to get there before they can just play land, and Oracle me. Which is pretty humiliating, but pretty funny at the same time. Yeah, this was just a list that I whipped up looking at the Discord. So if you're not already part of the Legacy Maverick Discord, you definitely should. There's a lot of really nice people in there. I just had a look at some of the recent lists within the deck lists only section. So pretty cool stuff from Sato San. Joe, I saw you also had a pretty cool list here, which I really like. I really like, say, Reclaimers alongside Bajuka Bog as just another way to have early interaction. And typically, yeah, obviously a lot faster than, say, another Reliquary. This was a Valakut version with Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Brotherhood's End also seems pretty cool as like a way to splash red a little bit more for a sweeper effect. There was some like these from Saito, which is cool with Madga. I haven't actually looked at this card yet. Redirect Lightning is also pretty interesting. But yeah, very cool to see a lot of players playing around with stuff. Pretty okay with this hand. We have turn 1 Acceleration, turn 2 Thalia, or Cub. Either way, we have Endurance if we need to straight away, so pretty happy to keep this. Spire Bluff Canal, okay. Huh. Soul Guide Lantern. Does this give away anything? Is this just like another... Oh, Lotus Petal, okay. Oh, okay, Mox. Engineer, okay. Ah, maybe this is with that new card that does cool stuff. Oh, Phyrexian Dragon, okay. With Cam, yes. Okay. So first up, we want a once. Start with once. Okay. The Wasteland's not too bad here. I mean, we could Wasteland them and then Engine. Or we could just Wasteland them pass. I don't mind that. I'm going to quickly bring up. I'm actually going on my gut. I'm going to go Wasteland. Obviously, Saga's a little bit of an issue here, but not just with like the Opal. So I don't mind. Quick think. Wasteland, the Spy Bluff takes them off mana. And then if they try to play a red source and then say sacrifice something to return, say this, then we can Endurance. I don't mind that. They currently have access to 1 mana. Now they're going to try to do something. Sacrifice is part of the cost, which is great for us. Because now we get to Endurance. And I actually think, just in case we don't find an answer to this, having the Keen-Eyed is quite nice. So I think I'm going to get rid of the Cub. Another Wasteland would be kind of cool. Dryad Arbor, not so much. But here we just get to Accelerate. Right. Now we have a game on our hands. Endurance in both games really showing its power. It's kind of the green force of will, in a way. Yeah, this deck does look really cool. Okay, obviously Saga's going to be a little bit of an issue here. Yeah, we have a reader. When this artifact enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. That's pretty cool. Night. So Night is access to a Wasteland. I wonder if Night is better than Keen-Eyed. I think so. Just because I think that although this is obviously going to be a threat at some point, the Saga is definitely going to be a threat. Like the seat. Marie. Oh, there's a cam. Okay. Another Night. So when this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, you may tap or untap target creature, which I assume is going to be the Engineer. Okay. We do have Karakas, but then obviously the Sagas just create constructs. They can only combo with the Welder. Okay, that's good to know. I guess they don't have red mana, apparently. We're definitely playing the Dryad Arbor. That's an easy one. We might even be getting rid of the Dryad Arbor. Unless we want a Keen-Eyed and try to win that way. Of course. Yes. I mean, we do have access to Cradle, which is quite interesting. We currently have artifact, land, instant creature. We can make a 7/7 Keen-Eyed, which in a way beats out the Sagas. I think we're definitely playing the Keen-Eyed. Now it's tricky. It's between Wasteland and Karakas. Or just eat the bin with 4 creatures close. Feel like I have to get rid of this saga. Yeah, it's a tricky one. There was a thought of hitting the red source, but they have Mox Opal, of course, and Emery. So they will get this. And now they target Moxie, so now we go after Moxie. Okay. Okay, I feel like that wasn't too bad. All right. Untap. Green Suns. Oh, ow. That is huge. Obviously, Green Suns for Collector Ouphe here. I think we're just doing that right now. Okay, so now they won't have mana for the Urza's Saga next turn. Okay. Apparently they have act. Land enchantment creature. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to attack here. If they block, we have access to Cradle, which gives us 4 mana. And then we can obviously eat the Urza's Saga, a creature. Nice. And then also the 2 surveillances. Get Cradle. 4 mana. All right, first up, we want to save this. So obviously, artifact. I guess we could go creature land. And then just take out the 2 surveils. Shouldn't matter. 1. Let's take out the endurance. 8/8, and then let's take out the surveil cam. And then the other surveil cam, just to keep that off. Okay. Okay. What else can they do? Soul Guide, okay. Yeah, I guess I can't do too much. Nice. I feel like we were on the ropes for sure, but thankfully just our bears definitely lined up. That the Collector Ouphe Green Suns was very timely. Okay. I like the Fiery Justice. I like the Force of Vigors. It's pretty easy. The Blasts, didn't really see anything blue outside of those cams. Let's have a quick look at Goldfish. Not to see like their deck, but just to see Painter in general. Painter. Yeah, it's really just the cam. So I would say no. Oh, it's got Flash as well. When this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, you may target. Kappa, interesting. It's a cool deck. Like I think the Force of Vigors and the Fiery Justice are great. The Doorkeeper Thrall is interesting because this is that's not an ETB. This is an ETB. That's not an ETB. Like Minsc is kind of cool because it can be extra removal, but I don't mind just shaving here. I think we can shave on a Thalia. Knight of Autumn, great. Collector Ouphe, great. Cubs are fine. Close out the games early on. Mawloc seems great. Knight, they are I think I can drop a Knight just because I'm getting like the 2 Force of Vigors are great. Also for Saga itself. Oh, I might have looked at the wrong sort of list. Maybe there's a different style of... This one does have the Phyrexian Dragon engine. The Valence. We did see the Melted Moxie, so maybe something similar to this. Okay. Loots are going to be pretty annoying. Fury's going to be pretty annoying. We'd even see this dropping down on a Mana Accelerant. Something like this. A Swords or a Force of Vigor in hand is what I'm looking for. There's the Swords. We have a pretty decent plan. We have a basic if they have a Blood Moon effect, so pretty happy to see how this goes. Turn 1, we have access to Savannah Swords or potentially Lush Portico. Obviously Cub with Foothills as well is kind of cool. I was gonna say we don't have something for a Saga start, but otherwise it's not too bad. I mean, a Force of Vigor off the top here would be kind of nice. It does just leave us back with nothing in terms of threats. But I assume this might be Wasteland. Okay. I assume here we just want to hold up the swords. Kind of want to keep the Foothills around for the Cub. And obviously Cub and Sheltered by Ghosts is kind of nice together because they just get rid of the constructs forever. That's pretty interesting. Kind of makes me just want to go with Thalia here. Yeah. Saga playing really strong here. Oh, wow. Force haste. Didn't even think. because this gives haste. So even if I deal with one, they just attack back with another. Gives +1. I don't think we have a line here. I think we are just dead. Tricky. Yeah, definitely the downside of keeping a hand like that is it does have weaknesses, and Saga starts are definitely weakness. I think we're pretty happy with how this looks. Like potentially an additional mana accelerant on the play is kind of cool. Maybe I like that over the Scythecat just because of turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Green Suns for Collector Ouphe. Blast could be good. I just feel like obviously those starts with Saga are really strong. And Blast doesn't do anything there. Otherwise, we are pretty well based. Okay. Happy to keep this. Kind of a 6 with the Talon gates, but hopefully the once can find maybe even some turn 1 mana acceleration for this Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay. Go for Taiga. That way we have all colors on board. Okay. Hot. But good. I think here I'm happy to try to Swords the Emery. And then actually go after the... Could go after their mana. Because we do have a decent way to deal with... No. I think because we have the Force, we have an answer to the Opal. It is interesting, but I think I'd rather hold the Sheltered for now. It's fine. Yeah, I like Hardcast Force as well. Or potentially, if we draw a green card, being able to Sheltered by Ghosts the Welder. They can get back both cams with this. So they can get back a lot. Because whenever this comes back, they then get something else. Yeah, I'd say we're going to be dead to... and then you just keep switching them. Draw your deck, pretty much. Interesting. Tough. Really tough. Probably an interesting matchup with Punishing Fire. Having to really need an answer straight away for those Goblin Engineers and Goblin Welders is always a tricky one. And there, like, having the Force was good, but obviously didn't really get a chance to get it into play. Pretty happy with this. We have access to Turn on Noble, Green Suns if we want to go and find something like Collector Ouphe. We have interaction in swords, which is nice. The Canopy gives us some leeway in case we draw into another land, which is nice. Just be able to hopefully turn it into a spell. Could go for a basic early on, but I think I'd rather hold one for red source and hold one for Surveil land. Well, ooh. Turn to Ouphe would have been sweet, but obviously is not happening here. We will play the Windswept, which allows us to Surveil. Hopefully get closer to something like a Thalia or a Collector Ouphe if we get a turn. Okay. Still some time. Lush. Endurance not good enough. Sounds not good enough. I think here I'm happy to cycle the Canopy at this stage. Thalia or something. Ooh, that's actually not too bad. That buys us a little bit of time. And the life game with Ignoble Hierarch could potentially be something. I mean, the Exalted, adding extra Storm. Okay. Interesting. Take the Ignobled. Ooh, once is good. Start with the once. Hub is interesting. mean, up does increase the clock. Playing the LED makes me think that we might not get another turn. Adnors? Okay. So you're telling me there's a chance. Ooh, Mox with Pedal. And Ritual. Okay, there we go. Tough. Tough. Right. Deafening Silence, a pretty easy one. Gadok, Dryad Militant, sure. Force of Vigors, yes. Doorkeeper Thrall is interesting. I believe it means that the Wishclaw Talismans don't enter with tokens. Mawloc's out. The swords are definitely out. Sheltered is most likely out. Collector Ouphe, Thalia, Cubs, Baloth, I don't mind. Boo can come out. Maybe the Sheltereds are in. Sounds very weird. We'll take out a Knight and see how this plays. Those Deafening Silences are pretty key to be able to stick something and hopefully not just who's out. Sadly, a hand with a lot of gas but just no real mana. Okay, a decent hand. Turn 1 Silence, turn 2 Cub, potentially turn 3 Knight. Bottom the Dryad Arbor. Playing Silence means we can draw into a land, play the Cub, and then still have a fetch land. Let's go for Taiga. I wonder if they just take the extra cub, because a fetch land off the top would be quite strong. Oh, the knight. Okay, I mean, that's pretty good as well. Nice. Although something like a Saga here would be pretty tough if we don't start drawing lands to be able to grow the cub. Interesting. I think I will actually just keep the Wasteland here. Although there are so close to 3 mana. Oh, sorry, 4 mana for Beseech that potentially we do just take out the Spire. I'm not too sure if I'm just being too scared of Beseech. I would like to keep it off the board. Into a creature? Okay. I think we're just running this back. It's good to see the Cabal because we are playing the Dryad Militant. Again, mana, probably just a little bit too slow here. Really want to have access to Deafening Silence and just, you know, making sure we can definitely cast everything. Dryad just a little bit too slow. Interesting hand for sure. But I think just not having like a solid turn 1 outside of just Wasteland. I mean, like it's, yeah, interesting. It doesn't have Deafening Silence, which we've discussed, but I think also our opponent's most likely to have, you know, like a turn 1 Thoughtseize or just go off turn 1. And this doesn't really help against either of that. No Endurance for, say, a Gaea's Will. If fire off a Thoughtseize, we definitely do the Once Upon a Time just in case they take it. I don't think they would, but obviously turning off turn 1 Noble Hierarch is pretty tough. They could also potentially keep a slower hand with more interaction. Like obviously we saw Fatal Push. I don't mind just seeing where this goes because I think it either leads to winning through like some cool plays of like obviously Teague. Yeah. I'm happy to just test where it goes. But I think it is a risky hand. Then it goes to 5 cards. Okay. Oh. Interesting. Ooh, 2 cards left. Ritual into Infernal. Let's see. Should have cast the once, but I didn't. Hopefully that's okay. Maybe an Echo? It's kind of cool because now we can use the once for something else. Like a Collector Ouphe. Endurance is interesting. I think here Endurance is the best thing. Cool. We also have something cool, which is... I mean, we do have just Green Suns for Ouphe. I was going to say we could also go for Endurance ourselves and then Green Suns for Teague. Nice. Very cool. We went down to Painter. And then we got up against Mono Black. What a combo tonight. Which I think against these sorts of decks, Doomsday, Painter, Mono Black Storm, I'd probably rather Thoughtseize than Pyroblast. But I do think Pyroblast is a pretty nice way to fight the format when you really know what's up. Obviously I didn't, but we'll see how it turns out. But hey, a big thank you to all of you guys for coming in and watching. I really appreciate it. Obviously, it's been a while since I've streamed. Just life has been busy. Interest in Legacy, yeah, it's sadly kind of come to a halt locally, so there's no real paper scene. And yeah, I think just Legacy definitely has that older crowd when it comes to players, and a lot of those players are hitting milestones like kids, buying a house, you know, work, ramping up career-wise. So you do get probably more people jumping out of the format just because there's, you know, life takes place. And I think I'm probably, yeah, getting close to that as well. It's been cool. Been playing since 2013. Trying to Rav. Got in through Jewels of the Planeswalkers. And I've never looked back. All right, pretty happy to keep this. Turn 1 Ignoble, turn 2 Thalia or Knight, depending. Does rely a little bit on the Ignoble sticking around. I think here I'm happy to go for Savannah. That just means that if we lose the Ignoble and we draw, say, like a Forest or the Taiga, then we can still cast the Thalia. Ooh. Okay. Let's go for draw step, sorry. I'm just going to take this draw step off. I think we're still going Thalia. It could be Knight. I think Thalia might just stop someone like the Grim sort of starts. So we can go Thalia into Lush, find Wasteland. That'd be kind of cool. Or of course like Green Suns. Okay, cool. Put that on top. And then next one we have Cradle to be able to pay for the Thalia attacks, which is nice. Teague also seems like a great card. That also turns off Kozilek's command. Potentially Teague is where we actually want to be. Alright, so they have the 4 mana. Grim. That is a tough one. I mean, we can kill the Tess, which is kind of cool. Maybe that's the play. Just leave them with a bunch of mana. Isn't great, but either play the Minsc, get the token, take out Tess. Green Sun's Fatigue does turn off a lot of what they can do with mana. I'm trying to think if the Tess can find something for 1 mana. Go from there. See, Mystic Forge. Gonna say like Portable Hold typically in the board. I think potentially we do just, yeah. I think it's tough because Fatigue also turns off the Minsc. Four, 3, 6, 7. Yeah, I think it's pretty tough either way, but I might as well try to kill the Tess. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Stick to my guns. Minsc. Yes. Up. Yes. All right. All right. Oh, okay, they're down to 0 cards. Okay. Okay. So I think we're just gonna play the land. Attack. I guess we might as well have ticked up, but that's okay. Attack Tez. And now we get to go Keen-Eyed. Mana. It's in the sideboard. Oh, Teague's in the sideboard. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite us. One card off the top. Okay. Oof. Lucky. Lucky. Very lucky. Yeah, draw 5 is also quite interesting. Take them off that one land. Yeah, I think that's definitely the right play. I think the artist had a little bit of tunnel vision. Justice is interesting. I think the endurances can definitely come down. Ouphe, Teague, Mawloc. Isn't too bad if they play Glaring Fleshraker. They do. What do I even want? Like Deafening Silence obviously is pretty good. Storekeeper Thrall, Stop the Ring. Minsc and Boo's kind of cool. I think we can go down on swords. Night of Autumn's nice. Renegade Rallier. Night Finding Wasteland. I like that Once's Search for Wasteland. Maybe like a Thalia on the draw, maybe Keen-Eyed, maybe, I guess Frenzied Baloth is quite good against the ring. Maybe I don't want both Minscs. Especially on the draw. Pretty happy to keep this. Having the Wasteland's nice. Also Force if they have like a really aggressive start. Okay. I think I'm happy to draw. See if I draw another green card that I don't really want, like a Dryad Arbor. That's pretty good as well. Savannah, this. And tap. And then here I'm pretty happy to throw these. There's a thought of pitching the extra Force of Vigor, as Scythecat Cub is my way to win the game. Green Suns is obviously for Gadok Teague. They have 4 cards. One is the Manifold. The next turn if we go Cub, and then the following turn we go Green Suns into Teague, I'm pretty happy about that. But I guess like I assume they would have the Hole. So that's something to think about as well. might just be the Cub, because next turn is Wasteland, most likely. Hey, Headshot Catcher, a huge thank you. This is very cool. I would recommend looking at the Legacy group for Maverick, apologies, and looking. I would always like do your own twist, because what I thought I'd play against online might be a little bit different to what you actually play against. Cool. Ooh. Something just happened. Yeah, look, the list is cool. I will say that. Where are we? They're like Thalia. Not too sure how well she still currently is, but I do like it with Scythecat Cub. Mawloc seems like a pretty decent Green Sun Zenith in any sort of metagame, other than when you really know what you're going after. The blasts haven't been that impressive tonight, but that's, you know, a very small sample size of 4 games. So, yeah. I'm always a big fan of Abzan. I could also see the appeal of green-white, so I really wanted to see Naya as well, just to see how it would play. What do you play against locally? Obviously, if it's for a monthly legacy, I assume you might have a good idea of like what the sort of local metagame is like. Because even like punishing fire in some of these matches would have been kind of cool to play with. That was Grim. What is that deck called? Apologies, I cannot think. Mystic Forge. All right, let's see if we can maybe finish this 4-1. That'd be pretty sweet. An interesting hand. I feel like my opponent is a very big lands player, which hand isn't great against. I would say Thalia doesn't do a whole lot. Collector Ouphe hits Mox, that's about it. Baloth is obviously a little bit hard to cast against a deck with aggressive wastelands. I'm pretty happy to mulligan and try to find mana acceleration. Okay. Happy to keep this bottom of Thalia and then see if we can go from there. Okay. That's a little bit scary just because, well, there's the forest, which is actually a really nice draw because now we also have the plains that we can fetch with the Windswept Heath. The skateboard is a little bit interesting because it does make some, potentially, of these starts a little bit fast. One more to cast. Okay. So I guess I'm pretty happy for them to use the Wasteland if they want to, because then we can follow up with fetch into basic. Although we might be able to go basic into Cub and then 4th land into Knight with the Sphere down. I feel like that's a better play. Just to make sure we have our mana around. Get that Cub on board. That's a pretty great draw. We might as well get the Savannah because it's the land we care about the least. Maybe it's actually the Plateau. goes to a 5/5. This would just be a 3/3. I wonder if they run like a Pithy Needle effect. Yeah, they're going to go all in on the Saga tokens, which makes a lot of sense here. Thankfully, I think we might just be quicker. Even with the needle, we still have a land drop to trigger the Scythecat Cub. We have a swords for interaction if that's needed. They obviously lose the Saga here. Like maybe a Bog. Like could probably their best draw. Another Saga isn't too bad, honestly, with the skateboard as well. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if I just want to build out the knight. I have 4 cards. This doesn't give trample, which is nice. I could see a world where we attack for 9, put them to 6, and then we have Noble Hierarch and Thalia as blockers. But then potentially, no, surely they like if they have land, Mox, then they would also need another mana for the Thalia. Interesting. We can't play both the Thalia and the swords. Next turn, worst case, land, they swing. Kind of have to block everything. I guess we also have put a land into the bin, which is interesting. Maybe here we actually just hold back. I don't mind double attack. Double attack, play a Thalia. Because now they have to think about holding things back. Because if they attack with both, we just block here. And then untap. They block 1 creature, but then we still have 6 here. And if they do nothing, I think we definitely play this. We definitely draw a card. Pretty happy. Just block with the Thalia. think now we swords more than draw a card. But the swords is interesting because it could also keep us alive by swordsing our own creature. Especially if they try to double block something. That's quite interesting. I think in that case I am going to draw. It's a great draw. It says trample, so we're going to put it on that. And then we are going to fetch down to 6. And probably Lush. Oh, does it matter? It probably does, actually. Double white. And Dryad Arbor is interesting as well, because that's just a blocker and a land. And now if they try to double block, we have swords, of course. I could save a life, but I want them to double block. Swords 1. Can't play the Thalia because of the sphere, that's fine. Maybe there's even a world there where I could have attacked with the knight as well. Pretty sweet game when they haven't played a colored like land yet. The tough one would be Depths because they already have the skateboard. We don't have the Knight Online with the needle in play. Like if they have Expedition map, they have float 2 mana, get Depths, play it. They then have Tomb to make it, but then they need 1 more mana to be able to equip. So I wonder if there's a line there where they have a land in hand and Depth. No, because they need to play both. Yeah, they can only play 1. Really cool game. A lot of back and forth. Thalia doesn't do too much in this matchup, but she did block. So got that going for us. I would say red is a little worse than the other versions against lands because red doesn't add that much. Pyroblast isn't really that great. Minsc, not that great. Mawloc, not that great. I think actually just the green-white version is best, especially if you have 3 basics. I'm having a very big think, but I don't want to push them or anything. Yeah, I do wonder because... Yeah, it is very interesting. So last turn we attacked with the Scythecat Cub, and they obviously made a token and then double blocked. Whereas if we swordsed 1 before this was made, they would gain 1 less life, so they would be at 7. And we have a 7/7. So maybe the actual play was attack with both. If they go to make another construct, we swords the one in play. They can only block 1 of these, and obviously they have to block the Scythecat Cub, but even then there's trample damage, and the knight gets through. So I think we actually probably missed lethal. But a good thing to always be cautious of. A little bit of rust, but here we are. Let me quickly get back to my Maverick friend. There's a bunch of us. It's a lot of proxies, so people switched around a bunch. But there's a bunch of people playing slower decks, usually not sure what cards go up in value against control. Pyroblast typically quite strong against control, which is nice. Like dealing with, say, like Teferi on the stack is quite cool. In case they're playing something like back to basics, having like the 1 out or the 1 mana out of Pyroblast is pretty cool. Minsc, quite good against control, especially being able to get it back every turn, or at least get a Badger every turn. I would say like black is annoying because of things like Bowmaster, Thoughtseize, but I think red is pretty good, pretty well positioned against the blue-white X control decks. Yeah, if we take this moment to look at metagame right now, see, so we have past 30 days, past 90 days, the Mia, Oops, Pride. I find Pride decks quite hard because Maverick doesn't have great strategies against go wide strategies if you don't have the answer to what allows them to go wide. So like obviously an unanswered Pride or a Ajani can be quite hard to deal with. Sneak I find quite strong and quite hard to come up against. Obviously, like when they cast a 3-mana spell and it isn't show and tell, it's like, oh sweet, but stock up is just so good that it's quite hard to, you know, not have an early clock and allow them to be able to stock up multiple times. And I feel like our clock is just so slow that we're not always able to beat them in the time that it takes them to put together show and tell omniscience and then, you know, some of the big creatures, especially tracks of finding Emrakul or tracks of finding something like a stock up to then go and find Emrakul and dig deeper. That can be quite hard. Delver, always love this matchup. Eldrazi, I would say, is definitely a lot closer than it used to be, especially with Kozilek's Command. Kozilek's Command is just a house. And obviously just, I feel like my plan of wastelanding them just doesn't always come off with the amount of soul lands they obviously have, but also just the mana they can also accumulate from Kozilek's Commands. They tap for mana. Interesting. I wonder if it is Mox, discard land, or... I had an emergency, so hopefully they're okay. Oh, Chasm. Well, they're keeping the chasm. Still have 4 mana. Oh, plus the map. Oh, maybe they want to buy a turn to be able to depth the following turn. Oh, Cradle, interesting. Okay, so they do have a Mox. Discarding the Yav. And now they have Exploration in play. Okay. Green Sunset would be pretty cool. Hey, Czak, welcome. Hope you're well. Wasteland is pretty great as well, let's be honest. Take out the chasm. Attack, attack. Very fortunate. But again, playing to outs. Yeah, I think last turn, just making sure we don't rush things. Seeing if there is lethal, especially when life totals are low. Thankfully, obviously tapped out and Sphere. But I do hope my opponent is okay. Sideboarding. Force of Vigor is obviously great. I don't mind the Dryad Militant because turning off Loam is, I think, just that strong. And just an early threat as well isn't too bad. I think that's it. I don't think we care about, Doorkeeper Thrall, Deafening Silence, Pyroblast, Choke. I think it's just going to be those 3. And most likely just taking out the 3 Thalias. I think that's where we're at. Maybe keeping 1, like taking out the Mawloc. It kind of depends on how they board as well. If they have any creatures in the board, we'll see how that lines up. Yeah, quite the top deck for sure. We've had some really nice top decks tonight. Which we put ourselves in the spot to be able to turn on the top deck, which is great. Yeah, lands are sweet, and skateboard is pretty tough because I feel like the tap down I just probably don't respect, but it is just so good at tapping down a blocker and then just getting through with both. Pretty funny to see. There is obviously a new card as well. It looks pretty sweet. If I find it. Yeah, a road. A road is cool. It's obviously very, well, for 1 mana, it has some pretty great flexibility, destroying target creature or planeswalker. So obviously, if it's a Tameo, if it's a Mother of Runes, if it's a Murktide, no matter what, it's great that it is obviously trading with that. They do get a basic land. But I will say that typically, a lot of the decks you play against on Maverick or other Wasteland style decks, which are obviously mana denial decks, which at first glance a road isn't great against because it gives them not only mana, but also mana that is typically harder, if not impossible for you to deal with, is that sometimes they'll go for their basics early on in games 2 or 3 to make sure their mana's on point, you're not going to get wastelanded. So by the time you draw a road, by the time you cast a road, then they might not even have a basic left in the deck. It doesn't always line up like that, but a lot of the times when I play, say, Path to Exile as Swords of Plowshares 6 to 7 against decks like Delver, they typically don't have the basic left in the deck once you get the path on the stack. So this will be pretty cool to be really interesting. Yeah, an answer to Kaito is fantastic, which obviously is quite hard to deal with. But yeah, it'll be cool to see where it comes out. Let's take out the Thalias and let's bring in the 2 Force of Vigors and the Dryad Militant. I think that's really it. Like, the Minsc isn't great. They typically have access to Karakas, but maybe there's a case of just being able to fling a knight for the win. That'd be kind of cool. I guess this is 61, so let's take out Thalia. And then just a quick look. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. But hey, a big thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. Very much appreciate it. Do want to try to get some consistency back. And even just for YouTube. If you're still watching on YouTube, I very much appreciate that as well. All right, let's try to finish this strong. Opening hand against lands. Typically outside of the Saga starts, which we've seen out of Painter, the games do go to the mid to late game. So having a mana base that's quite good is obviously quite appealing. So potentially 3 lands, 2 being fetches would be fantastic. Fetches, of course, grow knights, but they also give us access to forest and plains. Mana acceleration is great. Force of Vigor is just one of those cards you want in your opener. And I think if Painter definitely picks up, Force of Vigor should probably be a 3 of, because you just really want it in your opening hand. And it obviously is just great at 4 mana to be able to 2-for-1 your opponent. And 4 mana in this deck with mana acceleration isn't that hard to get to. So typically, if you do have mana acceleration and Force of Vigor, you're casting it on turn 3, which isn't too late. It is obviously giving your opponent some time to set up, but I think that it should be okay. Yeah, I think with Mav, the sideboard should pretty much be 1-drops, if not free spells. So obviously, Force of Vigor is a free spell. Sometimes My Break Trap, Refer Macabre, Surgicals for Graveyard Hate. I feel like Deafening Silence for 1 mana is just so strong against so many different combo decks. Pyroblast, obviously, really, really strong for things on the stack or once they've come into play. Like, I would say Dryad Militant is very much like 5% maybe. Teague could definitely see that in play in the main deck alongside Collector Ouphe. Typically, these 2 cards have kind of fought for that spot, but I think there's definitely a build with it in the main deck, potentially with the Minsc in the sideboard. Force of Vigor is great. Choke, pretty good. I feel like against the Izzet decks where you really want to be quick to get down your choke before they get down too many threats, because sometimes if you're tapping out for choke and they have creatures in play, you're just going to be losing that game because you're not dealing with the creatures. Fiery Justice as well. I'm sure there's some other cards. I looked at Fire Magic. I looked at Brotherhood's End. I do like that Fiery Justice can just be like deals with a 5/5 Murktide, or deals with 5 1/1 tokens, or deals with a few Kozilek command tokens. And the life gain obviously kind of goes against our way of winning the game through combat damage, but I think most of the time it's fine depending on what you're dealing with. I think Delver and Lands are probably 2 decks I'd have in a battle box alongside Maverick. I think like a Jeskai control deck would be cool, and then maybe some sort of combo deck that isn't too fast. Maybe an Ant would be pretty sweet. I think if I had to choose 6 decks to play against for the rest of my life with Mav, that's 1. It might be, is it Delver, Lands, Painter, a blue-white red control deck, and maybe like a like Buggalurin, or like a Beanstalk deck would be kind of cool. Beanstalk a little bit harder to deal with all the value they get, especially off Beanstalk itself, and a lot of their cards being 2-for-1s, but yeah, you get the gist. This is a really interesting card that I saw being picked up in some decks. So it's 1 mana, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So let's say Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Thoughtseize. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay 5 life or pay 2. Very interesting. Here's a quick question for chat. If I change the target of a Thoughtseize targeting me that has been cast by my opponent and it now targets them, I get to see their hand, right? They don't just get to see their own hand. It doesn't change who cast it. You asked about interactions in the Devoted Druid list. Yes, that was a sweet list. And I feel like there is a version on the Green Suns as well. So here is the list. So what we have is obviously Noble Hierarchs for early interaction, or early mana acceleration, I should say. Swift Reconfiguration, Devoted Druid, which goes infinite for mana. And then we have Bright Glass Gear Hulk, which is cool to go and get Walking Ballista. And I believe there's something else, maybe the Foundry? Is that also like a go wide strategy with like a payoff? I don't like this hand because it doesn't really do anything against like the lands. It has that two fetch, one land, which is nice, but against like a Saga start, not great. Okay, we do have Wasteland and Once and Cub to get things going and access to basics, so I'm going to keep this and bottom the Dryad. Although, like, there is actually a big play there where we bottom the Talon gates and keep the Dryad because it is a pitch to force. Right. Do I really care about mana acceleration? It's kind of the only reason I would play the Once. I guess because it does lead to like turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Cub, and then fetch. I think that's good enough. Ooh, Dryad Militant. Dryad's kind of interesting, especially against the Loam. I'm gonna see where the Dryad takes me. I don't want to Wasteland there because of crop rotation. I don't want to throw it away, so I'd rather try to Wasteland when they're tapped out. Wow, 4 mana. Actually quite interesting. They could have access to Endurance here. If they have double crop, they also just have 4 mana, 2 and 2 green. Use 2 green for 2 crops and just crop into the combo with 2 mana left over to go for it. I think I'm pretty happy just to play the Wasteland and pass and see what they do. I don't want to attack into a Endurance. Loot. I think here I will go after the Tomb. Yeah. That's crop. Interesting, went for depths. Okay. Woods. Okay. Stage. And now they're going to make it. Okay. Has to be Karakas. Ooh. Playing on mighty thin lines. No, of course it is both. It's not just them. I think we just run this back. Okay, pretty happy for this. Turn 1 Ignoble, turn 2 Collector Ouphe potentially. We have access to all basics, which is nice. Would love to see a Mox or an Exploration. I don't mind seeing that. Stage. Map. Right. I think here I'm happy to take the Exploration out. But also Green Suns for Collector Ouphe. I think because the Ouphe is an answer to the map, I'm happy just to go after the Sheltered here. Okay. Land here is pretty vital. We don't find a land. Just in case we need to hold up the Green Suns. I guess, yeah. Loot's okay. Surely naming Wasteland, swords. Guess here we just want to go for Knight to find Karakas. Still put that on top. Because we have the mana to play around this, right? This costs an extra 3. Pretty good. I guess in case of Talon gates, we just want to swords in upkeep. think here it's just Knight of Autumn, take out Saga. Two cards for them. It's a pretty great draw. Just holding up endurance here. Box is fine. Pitch a land. They then want to try to loam. Yeah, so here we just get to go 1, 2, 3. Cast this. Target them. Have the loam, but we have the Keen-Eyed. They attack, we can go after the Mox Diamonds. Yeah, unfortunate spot for them. I actually don't want to do that. Block here. And then cast this, getting rid of these two. Getting rid of the extra endurance. It's a 2/2, and now we have the Keen-Eyed to pick up the loam. Now we can attack with both. Take out artifact. Take out creature. Take out instant. Yeah. I like holding back the Ignoble just in case they had some sort of attacker, but also just for the Keen-Eyed as well. Go for Ouphe. X. Hey, the Muzz. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Very much appreciate you coming in and supporting. Nice. Well, we finish on a bit of a high. We finish 4-1, which is very cool. Going up against Doomsday 2-0, down against Blue Black Painter 1-2, up against Mono Black Storm 2-1, up against Mystic Forge Combo 2-0, and then up against Mono Green Lands 2-1. Deck was pretty cool. It felt like it flowed quite nicely, which is really nice. I didn't really stumble on mana that many times, which is great. I would say some of the maybe cards is obviously like Minsc, the Mawloc, the Sheltereds, the Thalias most likely, like Icetill, Keen-Eyed, Knight. Like Knight is like a maybe in some metagames, but I think right now it's quite strong. Frenzied Baloth, I think it's just really strong. It's just nice to have that sort of like quick sort of 3 off a Green Suns to take out a Planeswalker, or obviously to get through a One Ring. We didn't really see Knight too much, so didn't really see like Knight shenanigans happening. I think if I changed anything, potentially some of the decks that run artifacts and enchantments, you just want to have that extra Force of Vigor for in the board. But otherwise, it was pretty cool. That's me. It's 11 p.m. I got work tomorrow. And I just want to thank you again for coming and watching. I really appreciated it to come back. It's been obviously a few months nearly since I've been streaming. So yeah, I do want to get some consistency back. I very much appreciate all of those supporting through subs or just follows of the channel. I will put this, of course, up on YouTube so you can catch it there. And I will also, hopefully be getting back into streaming a bit more cadence. So look forward to that. And that's pretty much me. I'm going to see what anyone else is streaming and send you over there. It looks like Gabe is streaming, which is nice. So I'm going to send you over to Yellow Hat. Until then, have a great week, and I will chat to you all very soon. Thanks, Headshot. I appreciate it. Have a great week. Ooh. And I appreciate the mutts.